Hey y'all, and welcome to another Tumbler tutorial. I'm showing you this Jessica Flynn inspired Halloween tumbler. I'll link her video down below, but once I saw this tutorial, I knew I had to recreate this tumbler. Okay, so this is the decal that I'm going to be placing, and it's kind of a faux peekaboo. So I'm going to take the backing, the orange part of the jack-o'-lantern, and it starts with just regular Oracle matte white vinyl. I've already cut the pumpkin shape, I just haven't weeded the outer edge of it yet. And I'm gonna paint it in this kind of burnt orange color in just regular acrylic paint from Walmart. And I'm gonna use the paint as the adhesion for my glitter. And I'm just gonna go over that paint while it's still wet with this burnt orange color from Recollections glitter from Michaels. And then I'm just going to kind of tamp it down just to make sure that it's really stuck to the glue on the vinyl. When I feel like the glitter is stuck good enough, I'm just going to pour the excess back into the little container because this excess glitter doesn't have any paint on it or anything, so it's perfectly fine to save and use for later. And while the paint is still wet, I'm going to essentially weed my decal. I'm just removing the outer area, so all that will be left is the pumpkin that's covered in the glitter. Once the paint has fully dried, I'm going to go around the edge of the decal with a paper towel and just kind of wipe away this excess glitter. You don't want it to be too messy, so I'm going to clean up the best I can. And once I get it all kind of wiped up, I'm going to go in with some tape just to remove the excess little flakes of glitter. I'm just going to use the sticky part of the tape to pick up the remaining glitter little speck things. After all the glitter was removed, I did give it a couple coats of the Rust-Oleum clear gloss spray sealer just to seal in that glitter so it wouldn't move around when I was epoxying it. Now it's time to place the decal on the tumbler. I'm starting with a sanded and prepped tumbler that I sprayed with this Rust-Oleum 2-time Ultra Cover in Heirloom White. And I'm just gonna hand place the decal. There's really no need to use transfer tape since it's just one huge shape. But I'm gonna remove it from the backing and then place it the best I can, as even as I can, on the cup. Now I'm going to be laying the stripes down, and I'm going to be using just regular size painter tape for the spacing and just to make sure that the stripes are even. I've kind of pushed this against my shirt to remove it so it's not as sticky. And I will say the best practice here is probably to go ahead and epoxy first. I wish I would have done that. I didn't, and I did have a little bit more fallout from the glitter. But you're just gonna lay that painter's tape around the top, make sure to give it as even as possible. And then I want my seam to be in the back, so that's where I'm gonna lay this line down. And I'm just gonna follow the line of the painter's tape. It doesn't have to be absolutely exactly perfect, but you really do want it as straight as you can possibly get it because it will show uneven and stuff like that. Once you meet around to the back and it's lined up really well, you just take your craft knife and cut it along the seam. Cut it a little far over, like not right at the seam, because if you do like I did, you'll cut it too much and you'll have a little bit of white peeking through. It's not a huge deal, but I didn't like the way that looked. So just make sure you're cutting it over where it's already overlapped, not before it overlaps. And after you get that first line down, you just remove the tape and kind of do it all down the tumbler. Again, I wanted my seam in the back, so I'm just lining it up with that same seam that I made first and going all the way around the cup, getting it as close to that tape as possible so it will be straight. And I'm just going right over the pumpkin decal. I'll come back later and trim that up. But I want to lay my lines that meet up with the decal all down before I trim it. I personally just thought it would be easier to trim everything at once, But if you want to lay a line down and then trim it, that's perfectly fine too. It's really a pretty simple process. I'm just spacing everything out, laying the tape down, and then laying the stripes down, matching them up with the tape all the way down the tumbler, just so I get a pretty even and straight pattern with the stripes. And once I have all the stripes that meet the decal laid, I'm going to go in and trim them as close to the pumpkin as possible. I am going to be laying a black decal over this to give the jack-o'-lantern its face. I just wanted to trim these as close to the pumpkin as possible, so when I do lay that face down, everything meets up and it looks pretty seamless and even. Okay, now I'm going to trim the back seam of that second stripe, and here you can kind of see where it overlaps. You see that little ridge in it. Cut just past that. That way the entire stripe is showing and you don't have any of that background peeking through. And now I'm just going to go ahead and lay my last few stripes down. I just wanted to leave the entire process in because I really appreciate when other creators show the entire thing. And if you don't want to see me laying the stripes down, you can just skip forward a little bit. But that's what I'm doing here, just laying the final few stripes down. Now it's time to add the face to the jack-o'-lantern, and do not be like me. Epoxy your tumbler before you do this. I really have no idea what I was thinking, why I tried to lay this over glitter. Yes, it was sealed glitter, but still, like, what is there for the vinyl to stick to? Nothing. I have no idea what I was thinking. Just epoxy it before you add the face. That's all I'm gonna say. But I made it work. I did the best I could. I lost a couple lines, but it's fine. It's fine. Just placed it over the decal and removed the transfer tape. Okay, after that catastrophe, I'm going to go ahead and lay down the Happy Halloween on the back of the tumbler, and I'm just going to be using painter's tape to transfer this. This is a pretty standard decal transfer. I'm not going to explain it too in depth. After I get that decal placed, I'm going to go ahead and add my first coat of epoxy. I had really planned on not adding any more glitter to this cup, but I had so much fallout. I went ahead and added some of this holographic glitter additive to the first layer of epoxy. I just put a tiny bit in. That was actually a little more than I needed, but it worked out fine. And mixed that in with the epoxy like normal, and then went ahead and laid my first coat as I normally do. I just want to add my little disclaimer. Please make sure you're wearing proper PPE. You really want to work in a well-ventilated area. Wear your respirator, wear your gloves. Please just take all the necessary precautions and keep yourself safe. I did kind of save the glitter decal for last, just so I had minimal movement of that orange glitter around the cup. I wanted to get everything else covered first, and it kind of worked out. I mean, I did have a little bit of fallout, but not too bad. Since I was so hard-headed with this and tried to lay my overlay on raw glitter, I did have to kind of poke down some parts of the little black face thing, and it ended up working out okay. I mean, it really didn't bubble up too bad or anything, but I would definitely recommend laying the face after you have your first coat of epoxy down. And of course, I'm going to torch this like I always do. This just gets rid of any little micro bubbles that you may have pop up or anything like that. After my first coat of epoxy had fully dried, I went straight in, no sanding, no anything, straight in with a second layer of epoxy. And this one is just plain epoxy. It doesn't have any of that glitter additive or anything like that. After I got it fully coated, I of course torched it like normal. And then I did not record this part, but I did sand it and then add one final coat of epoxy. So all in all, it had 3 layers total. I would advise 4, but whatever. We're gonna move on from that. But this is the final project. I could not be happier with how this turned out. Please go check out Jessica's tutorial. She has a way better tutorial than I do. She is the queen of epoxy tumblers. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope you'll give this a thumbs up and subscribe for more tumbler tutorials like this. Thanks. Bye.